Good morning. Well, yesterday was a pretty boring day, and markets have continued to hold up here. You can see from around Thanksgiving, it's just been chopping around. We got the beginnings of an RBI or red bar ignored. Of course, we have to see where today is going to complete itself. But our factory work, what we got going on here is you got this resistance there, and it's just chopping sideways there. So it's holding up. And question is, are the internals backing off? And sentiment isn't. Excuse me. And what historically works out is that as far as internals go, is when prices run up like that and sentiment and breadth reach an extreme, giving us a heads up, be careful. And things are chopping around like that. As I said, chopping around at resistance is bullish price action, especially if we can get a red bar ignored. You watch for the breadth to come down to the zero line. And that historically has been a place where things are ready to advance again. So it's not there yet. We'll see where it is tomorrow. And of course, how today ends. Right now, things have moved up on economic reports that came out. I see them non-from productivity. I guess that was revised up. And unit labor costs went down. So maybe that's being applauded. Anyway, so far, prices are still within this trading range. Prices bouncing back and forth off of support and resistance. Um, NASDAQ a little weaker, pulling back into this area here. A few bottoming tail bars, congestion overhead. Maybe it can get back up to the range, but just not the type of patterns yet to support a bias that, hey, things are really getting ready to move here already. If today was able to close like this, well, then we would have, a 3-bar reversal, where it dipped down under the lows and came back up again. And while we still have this congestion there, that would be a better scenario for prices to potentially move up. Again, we wait to see how this index handles this resistance. And if we look at the Qs, it's probably going to be the same thing, but I'd like to see as far as the gap goes. As you can see, it's gapping into that resistance area, which is, potentially going to create a pullback into a gap fill. So that's something we need to watch out for. There's still 25 minutes to go for the open. You see the cursor on the 60-minute chart gapping up into all of those pivots. So as we looked at the S&Ps and I talked about sideways price action at resistance, bullish price action, red bar ignored, what we would look for, potentially bullish price action, would be it gaps up here, and that assumes that it's still up there at 9:30, and it goes sideways for a half hour or so, right at those pivots. And this is the idea or concept that we call absorbing supply. And many times people say, what does that mean, absorbing supply? Because, everybody thinks about candlesticks and support and resistance. Well, we do that, but also teach about understanding price action as it relates to supply and demand. And this congestion area is an area of supply. It was going sideways. Who's ever buying while it's short-term extended, it breaks out, it comes back down again. Longs get caught, it pulls back to the rising 20, some support here. And now this is an overhead resistance area that is supply, where those that bought here would think, oh, I get my money back. I was expecting that to pull back. So, or, let me get out of some or whatever they're going to do. right? The idea is once it gets back up there, it's a very shallow retracement. If it can go sideways, that's bullish price action, absorbing supply. And if it can stay up there today, bullish price action, or even if it dips down into the gap fill, it comes back up and closes green, that supports a bias that it could go higher. We'll see. Right now, we don't have anything on the daily time frame that is supportive of thinking that it's going to make, a new high above here right now. The Russell, everybody knows it blasted off there, and it's consolidating at the top here so far. Fantastic. You can see there's plenty of overhead resistance, but the idea is thinking that it should be able to get back up to the top of the trading range. There's a rotation into these small caps, which is a positive. Now, can it hold on to the gain? That's what we're looking to see. And, if today consolidates a bit more, tomorrow is jobless claims, which is potentially going to be a big number. That's at 8:30. Maybe that comes in positive, and there's chopping around that's been going on for a few days. We get another advance, and this would be an index that should outperform since it was an underperformer. So keep that in mind. Semiconductors have been pulling back more and pulling back into the gap fill here, stabilizing. Canada, is that what that means, Wayne? CDN, interest rate decision. I don't know how much that would affect our markets unless, that you give me this thought to think about. How might that affect our markets? And I don't think very much, but if they were to raise interest rates, which I wouldn't doubt, I don't know much about what's going on in Canada, but if they were to raise interest rates, that would support their currency. And if this would go up, it would be some influence on the dollar. But you got all these other currencies, and the euro is more of the main one to be followed. And this is pulled back to minor support area. It's stabilizing. So, the dollar here, we got these dots, it's at this pivot high, and the market's held up pretty well. While the dollar was moving up here, and the balance of that, and this is what might be the real fly in the ointment. And where initially, if this keeps falling and the dollar falls today, that's going to support the market could push up further today. But as this comes down into this support area, I don't know if this will reach the 200, but if this begins to accelerate down here, just like we look at anything else, we look for a turn to occur. Right? There's a pivot low, there's a 200. So somewhere in here, no matter what we were looking at, if we were looking at a chart of XYZ, we'd be looking for this to turn. And if these interest rates begin to turn up, we know that this year, higher interest rates and a dollar moving up has been pressure on equities. But right now, potentially there's some gas in the tank for equities to move up before these interest rates begin to stabilize. Now, it's been a big positive that these have moved down, but our expectation is that coming into support, they're going to stop moving down at the rate that they have. Transports pulled back a little yesterday, because short-term extended, no big deal. Part of this was this, I think this Alaska Air news buying out, but you can see these transports, the way they came down here. So we'll see how that happens, what happens there. SPX today, as things have moved up, just making a note at 10:30, there's crude oil and gasoline changes, but 46.20. Let me just double check that. 46.20. And so prices, let me just go back and look at this again. Up here at the top of the range, near the top of the range there. So top of the range, it's that resistance. Again, let's wait at least 5 minutes or so to see what kind of gyrations, if it pushes higher. And if it does, and the premiums push up, then go higher, go 25. Down below at 55, that's in the middle of the range. We just haven't gotten any relatively large moves at the open that jacks this premium excessively, but nothing's getting hit lately. But at some point, as things tighten up, that there's going to be an expansion coming one way or the other. And so you better have your plans as to how you're going to exit. And you don't have to wait till the end of the day either to close these. And you can move US if there's a surprise. Expiration is no change, or possibly stance change to dovish. Well, and that was again about the Canadian interest rates that I'm reading, what's happening in the green room for those on social media. Yeah, I mean, if there was a surprise, but again, there are other influences on the dollar. But so we'll see. But hey, we'll keep that in mind at 10 o'clock. Canada making a decision on their interest rates. Bitcoin, as you know, has been on a tear, and it's stalled for the moment. I mean, it's extended from the 20. There's an unfilled gap down here. Does it keep going till it hits this high up here? I mean, we're going to find out whether it, begins to retrace today. At any point when something accelerates that way, it could retrace at any point. But I don't know expectation for this to collapse unless some news comes out, because it had like 2 weeks of going nowhere consolidation. So it's like a new igniting bar from this consolidation as it chopped into the rising 20. So that's still bullish. And what's gold doing? That was a negative surprise right there. So it's got to repair the damage or consolidate. Silver just looking better as a setup, even though this is coming down. As this goes up and forms a V, and I think we talked about this in a pre-market or maybe in an MT Live. Whereas these V tops, even, this is coming down vertically, but these V tops leave fewer up there than if it was going sideways. And I think we talked about this the other day, as far as the markets go, where they go sideways like that, where it was going, it's consolidating and it's bullish. And then there's this negative surprise leaving this overhead supply. Whereas when you get something that's a V top, it's like, okay, that gets extended. And rather than going sideways where buyers keep stepping up and then it fails, it's like, take your money. And it gets dumped and comes in. But that bullish action is if it stabilizes down here at the rising 20 and minor support, and we get a bottoming tail bar, a red bar ignored, that would be a reason to consider buying. And it's gasoline and crude oil today chopping around. So a lot of these oil related stocks have been weak as crude oil has come down. And depending on those numbers, it could accelerate it lower or make it turn around. So keep that in mind. If those numbers are coming out and you see oil dropping down under this support level, one of my notes from before, and heading down to the next support level. So it's got room to drop. So as I'm looking at this, and of course thinking, okay, interest rates are dropping, crude oil's dropping, dollar is in a downtrend on the daily chart, but stabilized. The dollar starts to fall today, and this continues lower. It would support a bias that these markets could break out. And again, the best one the potential to move higher, I think, is the Russell, since it was the underperformer versus, say the Dow, which was the strongest. Well, it might be able to move up, and looking at what the world looks at, this consolidation, maybe again, crude oil falling, interest rates falling, the last hurrah for the markets to move higher before things really hit the wall before the holidays, and then we'll see what happens from there. But under that scenario, with oil and interest rates falling, the markets should advance. So that's the thought process behind there. If we see those things coming together, and even though this is extended, it'll get more extended. So you don't want to fade this just because it's extended without some kind of a potent reversal bar. And we'll be talking more about potent reversal bars and advanced candlesticks today in MT Live. So be a good one not to miss and to be there. So with that being said, take it over, Dan.
Good morning. I'm looking at my huge as you're talking about oil. And I don't even know what PXD is. Well, yeah, natural resources. I have a monster minder with open positions and alarms on new ideas. The biggest two downers in my minder are two stocks that we're in. So that's a good feeling. The PXD, we're short the stock. Nice wide range breakdown. My low alarm went off here pre-market. And Hess, we did a call spread yesterday. Bear 1, 2, 3, 4 breakdown. Some of us were shorting Exxon yesterday in the green room. That looks lower, looks great. Plus, it had a small little gap up today, makes it even better. And then on the Dow 30, there's pretty much only two bearish, two red stocks. McDonald's, wow, that's whipping around. I don't think Pat's here. She usually comes in the afternoon, but Pat was telling me there's some pending news on McDonald's, something or other, and very possible that's what caused that whip-a-rama. That's a big $10 pre-market swing right there. But then Chevron oil is down 73 cents, but the rest of the Dow 30 is lit up green like a beautiful tree. All right, thanks, Robert. Let's go to earnings here. I didn't do any earnings myself last night. Sierra, and we were watching this long right up here. Bullish. This is what we call bullish consolidation at major resistance. Breakout weekly, monthly, but now that's a short-term exhaustion gap. Asian bearish gap all the way here to the 200. Now, but for this bearish gap, I had this as a possible core long. But that ugly cap's, gonna put that idea on the hold for a while. MDB 411 call spread idea. Gapping under a bunch of bars there. Pavel on YouTube, yeah, Yext had earnings. I'll get to it, but he says Pavel, he says a short idea after earnings, but I'm looking to buy. So let's just analyze it like we do every trade. So it's a bearish gap without a doubt. Gap to the low of this range. So I mean that's a nasty gap. So when you say you're looking to buy it, I surely wouldn't be buying it unless you had a pattern, and you're going to get a pattern quicker on a 5 or 15-minute chart as opposed to a daily. That daily is damaged. So my answer is I don't know. Put it in a 5-minute chart, and I have no idea what it's going to do. SPX, whipping around flat, big old bottoming pattern. We'll come back to it. Box getting whacked here. Wow. I actually was considering selling 24 puts, but there wasn't enough premium. Glad I didn't do that. That's a nasty gap. Rent, it's a penny stock. Looks like garbage. Play had a big run, gapping down a little bit. 41, no pattern. Yeah, Rengen, it closed break even. So I closed it out yesterday. And I was so tempted. Do you remember Rengen in the morning? Because look at this tail. It was showing great relative strength. So we had a discussion in the green room. I said, oh man, maybe we can find some more put spreads in oil. And then, so what do I do using my factory work? I immediately went to XOP, XLE, OIH, and I said, uh-oh, our VLO is relative strength. Everything else looks like horrible. And I was tempted for that very reason. It just as a warning sign to why is this thing on its own page? And we had over 50% of max profit, and I moved it to break even, and it stopped out break even. I just had an alarm on our XHB. We're long this in our ETF trader. There's not a lot of volume, so I don't trust that. PHR. Okay, 7. Now this is a pro gap. So I have it here in my middle chart. Because look, if this opened flat, then that would have been a short today under yesterday's low. And now it's gapping way the heck up here over all this resistance. That is a shock pattern, pro gap, bottoming pattern. I mean, you got a lot of junk over here, but so it's not going to go straight up. But that's a buy on a pullback. So I have that here, PHR. Let's watch it. This one, I mean, you could set an alarm up here at yesterday's high if you want, but I don't see a big upside on that. There's our Yext that Pavel was asking about. All right, this had a big run into earnings, gapping down 137. So that's a short idea. That's extended all time frames. You can put that in a 5-minute window and watch it at the open. Now this, I can't tell where it's opening, but this was a classic breakout failure. It's up a lot, showing bullish price action, closing breakout, inside bar, trades under the inside bar. So under yesterday's low, that looks like a short. We could get a couple bucks out of that. Let's set an alarm about 80. 88, 85. Powell. It's gapping up here, but it's in the middle. It's in the middle of yesterday's big range, so there's nothing to do. PHR. That's the one we just talked about. All right. BFB. I remember somebody was asking about this yesterday, and I said danger. I said it's a possible, bottoming pattern. Maybe to target 62, but we wouldn't have entered it except for today over yesterday's high. So now it's a bear gap, but it's on support. So I don't know. I need more information. Campbell's Soup, 41.33. three. There you go. 30-minute high. 30-minute high on Campbell's. You know, it's kind of a slug, but looks good. I will put that in a window. CTB. This is not earnings, but I just was looking at it and to it. I see it gapping up here. I gave this as a put spread after the market yesterday over today's high. Hope that gap doesn't mess it up. But that's a beautiful, strong stock. You know, the V top Greg was talking about came in, got a 2-bar reversal in the gap fill. That's a great setup right there. Let's see on PayPal. I'm not sure what you're looking at there. Though I was saying yesterday, I hope it stays above 102 on earnings, but it's not. It's now deeper to 101. So come back to Ollie, 78 bucks, gap in resistance. You trade messy. Texan alarm just went off. We sold a put spread on that yesterday. And Sam, I know you're looking at that for possible direction along as a 1, 2, 3. Wiley is not so wily today. That's getting whacked. You know, when I can't even see the number on my daily chart, you know it's big. And look at that bearish weekly chart. That's ugly. One fee. Gapped up, look like it's coming back in. I don't know, it's junk. Here, Sam, it's your company, the old love sack. Gapping up here, no pattern. VRA, no pattern, you're a dog. And that's it on earnings. Cat, we have as a put spread over these highs. My alarm actually went off after the market yesterday. Let me reset it. 257. I put alarms early. AVAV. Oh, that we already looked. Earnings. Charter. I saw this on CNBC last night. That thing got friggin' whacked yesterday. ITB, McGraw gave this one to me. And, you know, it's at this prior high on the monthly, but, you know, this is the housing sector. It's been strong. Tim, YouTube asking about Joby. I think Joby is that's the flying helicopter car or whatever. All right, I got a couple alarms here going on. Joby, yes, I like it. I like it, Tim. I like it a lot, actually. I'll put it on a window on my other chart. Looks great. All right, Joby. Yeah, let's, you know, I'm in no rush to get into it because you got this breakdown. Ideally, Tim, you'll take out yesterday's low and snap right back and give us a bottoming tail. But that is a buy setup from a bottoming pattern after a wide range igniting bar. That's how we would describe that pattern. So yeah, definitely putting it on the watch. CHRW alarm. Sam, I am. This is yours. Another bottoming pattern with a void. Target 88, 89, but I'm in no rush to do anything. IWM the strongest out of the gates. Little, you know, it's not a 1, 2, 3 because 1, 2, 3 is have to be the inside bars, but nevertheless, bullish as can be. And Apple was on an absolute tear yesterday, right? Started pre-market. I missed that pre-market, but I saw it at the market open. It was ripping. All right. ACMR, no pattern, but that looks like a short under yesterday's low. AES. This is in the letter. So let me post this. AES. I'll go into gap area or 5-minute high. So AES. Oh, I posted Starbucks as a put spread, 30-minute high. That's starting off, small little gap, taking a well, it's not the 5-minute high. It's only 932. But this is an idea. Diamonds. Yeah, diamonds. Yeah, yeah, diamonds ripping too. Wow. Agree. JCI alarm. We're long stock. Let's move stop here. 54.41. Well, that's not right. 54.38. PC, 50.